Okay, everybody, we're going to cruise on to question number 2. The title of this article is Physician-Patient Communication, the Relationship with Malpractice Claims Among Primary Care Physicians and Surgeons. It's by W. Levinson, and it was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and we're taking it way back to 1997. And your question on this one is, specifically for primary physicians, the overall length of a visit was significantly higher for physicians with A, no malpractice claims, B, some malpractice claims, or C, many malpractice claims. So essentially we're looking at like the length of time you spend with your patient. Is it better to spend more time? Is it better to spend less time? So we're looking to see if a primary physician, so primary care, spends more time with their patient. Are they going to have no malpractice claims, some malpractice claims, or many malpractice claims? And I know this isn't speaking to the quality of said time, but this study was specifically just on like length of time spent in relation to malpractice or malpractice claims. Maria's got her thinking cap on over there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and let's get your answers. Nolan, you go first. I got an A. Okay. And Maria, A. Okay. Katie also had A, and Jeff chose B. Okay. Let's see. It was A. So in this case, they found that patients that spent more time, specifically the primary physicians that spent more time with their patients, had no malpractice claims.
That surprises me. I can't believe that they wouldn't be sandbagging themselves.
Well, that was the conversation I was having with myself too. It was like, some people just don't know when to wrap it up. So
Right.
you might end up in that, like, I've talked myself into a situation where sometimes less is more.
I think maybe it's just that patients are surprised that they get enough time with them, that they don't feel as obligated to report a malpractice claim.
That's probably true. And when they look at overall, like the amount of information that a patient can recall from, especially from an initial visit, but the amount of overall information a couple of days later is much lower than you would think. So maybe just the amount of time is the standout information that they've got.
The interesting thing would be the amount of time, because I know that most of the visits are 60 seconds. So
Right.
I feel like, again, Josh, these are coincidental things, but Josh and I were talking yesterday about somebody that he was speaking to, a chiropractor, about like an hour-long visit or something. That made such little sense to me. It was difficult for me to humanly comprehend what that would be, unless you were Greg Rose at TPI taking care of like a professional photographer who's paying you $10,000 an hour.
Right.
It was very difficult for me to understand conceptually how that could be a good clinical or business idea. So I'm interested in this. Did 60 seconds become 3 minutes?
Yeah.
In which case I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it doesn't, it was 30 minutes or something like that. I'm like, it's impossible for them not to sandbag themselves, because you would just go off into a million different things. Patients are going to have questions. You're going to be taken off task. There's just too many opportunities for things to go askew. Because again, I have pretty strong opinions about this, but in my opinion, most of a good visit is templated. That doesn't mean it's like an automaton, but you need to know your destination, right? So if you're spending 30 and 60 minutes, sometimes you can do that. I'd say script, because it's not scripted like you're a television actor, but I mean in terms of ADIT formula. Okay, I'm going to acknowledge, introduce, duration, expectations, and then transition. So I'm going to set myself up for success by having a patient understand from the get-go what we're going to do, how long it's going to take, and what my goals are by the end of that visit. And that's, I think, a critical part of patient experience. So long story short is I would be interested to know whether this went from 60 seconds to 3 minutes, at which point I'd be like, oh, this makes total sense.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Trust Driven Trivia, brought to you by Trust Driven Care. Imagine a world where all your patient communication is in one place, seamless, effortless, and on autopilot. That's the power of Trust Driven Care. If you're ready to streamline your practice, check out trustdrivencare.com and see what's possible. Join us next week for more laughs, new guests, insights, and fresh questions that turn medical research into pure fun. Trust-driven trivia, making healthcare knowledge exciting, one question at a time.